Y'all, the mere fact that we're starting this story with a concert where the audience looks like they call each other men of culture gives me a lot of hope about what the show is going to be about. Performing on the stage is an idol group called B Komachi, and this Four Eyes is one of the many male fans that drool over them. It takes one to know one. In the center of this group is their leader, the 16-year-old Hoshino Ai. The way he is describing a 16-year-old has me concerned. The passion is almost sickening. Very sickening. The simp's name is Amamiya Goru. He's literally watching this coverage from the room of his patient. I thought he turned out to be a shut-in or something like that, but dang, a fracking doctor? I think that changes a whole lot of perspectives. His nurse brings him some bad news. Enough for him to replace the patient that's on his bed. Hoshino Ai, the pop idol, has tweeted that she is now going on a hiatus. She even calls him a lolicon for being so head over heels for a literal child, but the doctor has a story to share. His infatuation for Ai comes from one of his patients whom he looked over. She was a kid who, based on how I see her, was dealing with something very serious. She was a big fan of Ai, and the doctor was there to see her passion. In fact, she was such a big fan that she used to think about being reborn as someone like her, should she get a new life. And no surprise, the child passed away, and he continued to admire Ai just for the sake of his patient. They get back to work, and he gets a new batch of patients, one of which is pregnant at the age of 16. She's there with a shady caretaker, and her hair looks quite familiar. Oh, hell no! That's the one he was drooling over a while ago. Now she's knocked up and looking for his help. We now know why she went on a hiatus. He sends them to the examination room and takes a moment to marvel and regret what he just saw. As for who the father is, well, she insists on keeping it a secret, so I guess we're gonna have to wait till we see the lucky man. He then reports that she is blessed with twins and is 20 weeks pregnant. They're not sure if she should keep the children or save her career, and she asks Goru for his opinion. They later meet up at the rooftop where he mentions how much he knows about her work. One of his patients used to be her fan. She then tells him how she doesn't plan to stop being an idol, but also wants a family, so she's keeping the twins. She plans to hide the children and lie about her motherhood to the entire world. So that's what they meant when they said a lie could be used as a weapon. Seeing her resolve is enough for him to make a decision to help her through the delivery process. Since she chooses to do it naturally, he helps her throughout the pregnancy to make sure that both the mother and the children remain fit. The day of the delivery finally closes in, and they make it to the 40th week. A random man approaches Goru from outside the hospital asking about Ai. He starts to ask some personal questions, but after a bit of persuasion, he makes a run for it. Excuse me, what? He followed the stalker all the way to a frickin' cliff and got pushed down? Is he dead? Well, he's alive, but barely. His intrusive thoughts are still about Ai and how he has to be there right now for the delivery. As he draws his last breath, he thinks about what his patient Serena once said about being reborn. She turned out to be right, as Goru is now reborn as one of Ai's twin children. You good? Familiar.
Yeah,
Someone thought of this
correct.
and then made it a show.
Yep.
I don't like being human anymore.
Get in line.
His new name is Aquamarine Hoshino, and he sure seems to be chill about this whole situation. He's born with all his intelligence and past memories, much like Rudius. Of course, he has a twin sister named Hoshino Ruby, who he doesn't have a high opinion of. That's literally just a kid, though. Ai is now healed enough to make a huge comeback, and Saito's wife Miyako will look after the children while she's gone. Oh my gosh, y'all. What if the father is another reincarnation of him? So he's basically all three versions. I'm calling that right now. That's so the plot twist. Miyako's not the best babysitter out there, and she falls asleep during her work. This gives Aqua the chance to turn the TV on and watch his mother. I still cannot process that she is his mother now.
I can't process how we're still on YouTube.
The production company behind B Komachi seems to have gotten sour on the band's content ever since her hiatus. There's still a big draw, so somehow they have to keep the praises intact. Despite all that time off, Ai and the band give off a brilliant performance, and this baby simp still has the same look on his face compared to when he was a doctor. So Aqua's not the only one who's been reborn. Ruby is also a reincarnation of someone, and she also has the intelligence of a fully grown human. They know each other's secret and seem to be just freaking chill about it. What's funny is that he deliberately avoids being breastfed by her because it'd be too weird for him. That's just wrong on so many levels. His mother, not his sister. Oh man, that was wrong on too many levels. Well, not much of a problem for Ruby though. She can be breastfed all she wants and even shows it off to the unfortunate Aqua. Miyako, on the other hand, has been gradually losing her mind over the babysitting job. She reaches her limit and starts to make plans about revealing Ai's secret to the whole world just out of spite. Aqua has a very clear idea to handle this. In Miyako's mind, he's still a child who can't talk. So if he were to talk to her as a divine messenger of God, she'd surely believe it, right? Which she doesn't at first. But then Ruby starts to do the same, after which Miyako comes face to face with reality, where God might just be talking to her. They talk about how Ai is the chosen one, and this is the job of the gods to protect her. Anyone who gets in the way will be heavenly punished. Holy frick. The only solution for her is to take good care of the mother and the children, which will one day hopefully reward her with a better husband. Seeing Ruby talk about Ai like that reminds him of his patient Serena, and he doesn't know that Ruby is actually Serena herself. Whoa! She also suspects that Aqua could be her doctor, but it's too great of a coincidence for her to believe it. Despite being Komachi's rebirth and their newfound success, Ai is not particularly happy with her payment. The agency has started to become a lot greedier than they once were. That's relatable. It wouldn't be a problem if it was only her, but now she has 2 kids to take care of. They think about all the hard work that goes into their beloved idols, and naturally, the only person they can complain to is Miyako. She then complains to them the scary business life of Tokyo and how it's full of leeches. That's just the business. The babysitter really is growing into her role, though, taking the kids to see one of their mother's mini concerts. How cool is that? They have to make sure that they don't stand out too much while they're there, so pacifiers are a great solution to that. Ai, who had recently read a critical comment about her smile and overall inhuman expression, is constantly thinking about how obnoxious her fans are, while she's performing, no less. How do these people even notice that the audience look like a bunch of robots who were programmed to say, yeah, on loop? Actually, it might be a little obvious. She looks completely out of it while thinking over something like that. Of course, Aqua has to come to the rescue, and all he can say is goo goo gaga in baby language. It's not just him, though. Both kids are doing the same with the glowing sticks. Talk about not standing out. This is just announcing to the whole world that you're unique. That little clip of them is enough for her to lift her spirits, and even it gets retweeted thousands of times. It sure is something made for being viral. That was such a weird time to go for a time skip suddenly. They just skipped past a couple of years, and the kids are big enough to be running around now. As they develop throughout the years, she finds that her kids are a lot smarter than they should be, given their age. Aqua fears that she might be suspecting their whole reincarnation scheme. It's not like they didn't try. But I think it's just that her kids are geniuses. We'll go with that. Things have been wrapping up for Ai as well. She's gone from being an idol to a radio jockey and is on her way to her first TV drama. The kids are there with her too, and Miyako has to remind them that they're there as her kids, not Ai's. They have to remain conscious about calling her mother. Everyone in the set loves the manager's kids, and Ruby is feeling up every moment of it. Aqua runs into the director, who sounds and looks like a super rude person, as such his guard is up around him. He is so impressed by the politeness and the manners that Aqua shows that he offers him a business card and a chance to star in his own role. What? After bonding with the kid, he gets candid about how hard TV is going to be for Ai. The market is already filled with stereotypes, and Ai belongs to the most unfavorable ones. But Aqua believes that Ai has what it takes to make it big, despite her reputation as a popular idol. The actual episode airs, and, well, as expected, they cut out a lot of her part, which makes her wonder if her acting is below average. Aqua doesn't appreciate this and calls the director to directly ask about the cuts that he made. Apparently, he got directions from the higher-ups about how Ai was just too cute for the role and was taking all the eyes off the lead actress. He takes his chance to set a condition. Ai will be featured on screen more often if he decides to take a role for himself too. He being Aqua. He then attends a set as promised, and despite the potential offer of having Ruby star too, the director has his eyes set on Aqua, which is the one he actually wants. Ruby is at the set too, and she's being stingy for no reason to try and ruin Aqua's mood while she's there. They are then approached by Kana Arima, another child actress who wants them to leave if they're going to be that noisy. She's very dislikable from the very get-go, and even more so when she talks about how she knows Ai, whose acting, according to her, was terrible. Ruby and Aqua are supposed to play the role of creepy children that Arima will encounter in the first episode, which makes me wonder if she's in the leading role here. The director believes that there's a unique sense of creepiness to Aqua that transcends beyond the limits of acting it out. Brother, what? Even the adult actress feels this chill while filming a shot with him. He was a doctor in his past life. What the frick? What's creepy about him? Arima's not happy with her performance and wants the whole thing to be reshot. She wants to look better than that boy. Dang, she cried her throat out here just because one dude was better than her in one scene. The director then consoles him later, talking about how just acting is not enough and communication skills are just as important. Time keeps passing with each major incident, and with Ai nearing her 20th birthday, Aqua begins to reflect on how his life has been up till this point, which isn't entirely bad. Over these years, he's constantly been searching for the news of his dead body, the doctor's body, and even after 4 years, there's been no sign of it. I'm surprised that we know he's been reborn, yet he hasn't made the conclusion that his dead body might have magically disappeared. They then get enrolled in a preschool, and despite being together for 4 years, Aqua is now curious about how old she was in her past life. Ruby doesn't want to look like someone who was younger than him, and so she lies about being an adult woman. And there go his chances to figure out that she's actually Serena. She gets depressed over her dancing classes since the final moments of her past life were not so kind to her feet. Aqua gives her some words of encouragement, which aren't nearly enough, and so Ai is there to help her daughter through it. She does a performance for her, and Ruby is quick to catch on the lack of choreography there. She's been watching her for so many years on TV, so of course she knows just about everything she has to know about the way Ai dances. She falls while trying to recreate that posture, and Ai guides her through the entire process, making sure that she overcomes her clumsiness. As she begins to learn to dance, she remembers her days as a patient who quickly turned immobile and helpless. She would watch videos of Ai dancing her heart out to make herself feel better, since she can't do it herself, or at least in the past life. As the kids grow older, Ai decides that it's time for them to meet up with their father, which, holy frick, I forgot they kept that a secret for so long. Man, my prediction's gonna be wrong, isn't it? Dude, they're stretching this part out really long. I'm sitting here fucking drooling, craving to see a daddy, who honestly should not be liked since he has not been there for his kids, not even a little bit, unless I'm right. Someone finally rings the door, and she opens it to see a man in a hood with flowers asking about the twins. Is that the father? She didn't seem like the kind of guy who'd strike anyone as a dad. Oh, well, the white flowers that he brought for her actually painted red with her blood. That bloke just stabbed her. Oh.
You good?
Familiar?
Yeah?
I really don't want to be a human anymore.
Yep, we got free coasters in that club I was talking about.
Toasters?
Coasters.
Like the things you put drinks on?
Yeah.
That's frickin' dumb.
What?
I guess it is the same guy that pushed Goro off the cliff. The initial stab wound is not enough to kill Ai. She's still standing. Aqua walks up to check and sees his injured mother and a deranged man with a knife. His confidence is broken down in seconds as Ai starts to become honest regarding how she feels about herself. She sticks out her hand to what she sees as a fan, talking about how she still wants to love him. So is this the father or not? Can we answer that question before you die? He's a bit startled, but calls her out for being a liar since she doesn't even know who he is. She does though. His name is Ryosuke, and he used to be there at every event to shake her hand. That was more than enough for poor Ryo to lose his mind and run. Aqua calls the ambulance, but of course it starts to get worse for her. She holds her son to her chest and starts to say her final goodbyes, while the daughter listens to all of this from the other side of the door. Jeez, dude, the way she went out saying, "I love you" to her children. That was so dark so fast. And just like that, Ai's life comes to an end. Now where is she gonna be reborn? The Bikamachi fan base is rattled over the death of her news. Did I really just say the death of her news?
Yep.
The news of her death. And they start to hold gatherings and paint walls with her graffiti. There was of course going to be a bunch of trolls online who were gonna make a joke out of her death. There always is. While Aqua took it all sportingly due to his higher intellect, Serena was still just a child, even before she was reborn. Miyako, who has been the best character up until now, asks the kids if they would give her the honor to be their mother. Only after a couple of days of Ai's death does Aqua begin to realize that the death of his mother was not so transparent. The stalker that killed him and his mother he was merely a fan who had no business detecting them like that. He starts to realize that there were others involved, people close to Ai, who knew about her life from the inside. The only possible answer is the father, the person that knows Ai more than anyone, and the guy that has not been seen yet. As such, he makes a vow to find out who's involved alongside his father and then kill them with his own hands. The first step comes in the form of the director. Aqua wants him to be his caretaker, and yet we have another time skip. Now they're both high schoolers, which also marks the start of Aqua's revenge tale. Also, did we notice that the main character is named Aquamarine, but he looks like the main character from the dweeb game Genshin Impact? Aqua is now on the path to getting revenge for his patient/mother who got gutted right in front of him. Our story continues with Ruby submitting her application to star as an idol. Like mother, like daughter, she's waiting for the results and discussing her performance with her friends. Now, it's been years since she met the requirements for a proper audition, and she wants this one to count. Her friends, as secondary as they look, sure are happy about her audition, and they believe that she will be passing it with maximum pointage. Ruby has had a secretive life up to this point. Her friends don't know that she's the child of Hoshino Ai, the famous idol whom she aspires to be like. The second is pretty obvious. She has a brother who is as hot. No, that's not it. She has memories of her previous life where she was a cancer patient and things were not very idol-like. Even in that life, she was a fan of her mom, who in that life was not her mom, but a random girl. Do you see what I was trying to say about the plot? Aquamarine is acting like any big brother would, especially when things are so complicated between them. He wants her to study for an entrance exam and take her education seriously, but for her, the idol life is a perfect escape from all things nerd. Yeah, what now? You're going actively into the nerddom. He actively tries to divert her attention away from the idol idol life, especially when she sees how hectic it can be and how low it pays. It pays low? There's also the possibility of a stalker similar to the time his mom had one and she was gutted. I think we're all well acquainted with that story by now. Ruby has a lingering feeling that Aqua's nature has changed ever since their mother died. He looks like a part of her soul died with her. I mean, he is someone who has died once, so I'm not surprised. Is that how that works? He also got set up at the director's place and has been his apprentice ever since. The two of them are always up to something, but she doesn't know what that is. Ichigo, Ai's manager, has also lost contact, and Miyako is the one handling things for the agency. As for Bikamachi, the band disbanded after Ai's death. Miyako's still in touch. She did promise to take the role of their mother after all, and it's nice to see that she's actually doing that. Remember when she was planning on exposing Ai's secrets to the whole world? Yeah, I'll never forget that. She's the one Ruby talks to most of the time. She's also the one who's helping her with her dream of being an idol. She gets a call from the audition agency while she is with Miyako, and the news ain't good. They want her to apply again next year. The best way to say, we don't want you. Ruby starts to cry, and Miyako immediately swoops in to hug her like she had been expecting a response like that. Okay, so wait. Aqua and the director were the ones behind her rejection. That was foul, but well damn played, fooling your own sister like that. I'd like to assume that Miyako's on the same train too, because that instant reaction from her was like way too sus. He already sent a notice from Ruby's phone to the real agency and told them that she doesn't want to continue. The director wants to know why he's going to such lengths to keep his sister from reaching her goals, and the answer is actually pretty simple. He doesn't want her to be the same as I. He also feels this weird sense of responsibility where he has to take care of everything. All that effort proves to be for naught when a random person on the street gives Ruby a card and asks her to contact their idol agency. They're in an underground idol recruitment organization, and both Miyako and Aqua have the same reaction to their news. They have to be working together. My suspicions are right. Miyako is well aware of the fact that Aqua's trying to sabotage Ruby, and she doesn't have much of a problem with it. She does feel like she should be doing more to protect her too, but she has raised Ruby like a daughter, so she also wants her to live her dream. He already has a plan though. He takes away a business card from Strawberry and approaches a random girl on the street. He brings the girl to the studio, and what is up with that look of his? It's almost too good to be true. The girl, Lala, is currently working with the same agency that scouted Ruby earlier. Their name is Yibu. Oh man, I can see where he's trying to go with this. What a cunner. He tries to bait her into providing information about the things that Yibu has been offering her and how he can interest her in a better deal. She makes about 100,000 yen a month, along with a ton of frustrations. Favoritism is one of the very few complaints that she has. She's also jealous of the top girl of the agency, who doesn't seem to be someone she can look up to. Her remarks are mostly unpleasant and hateful. Her overall experience is not that great, and so a move to the Strawberry Productions would be great for her. We don't see what they decided to do with her after, but they at least have a vague idea of what Ruby's about to get into. Aqua's decision is clear. He's not going to let Ruby join an agency with such rumors and unhappy employees. Then in that case, you're never gonna join an agency. He even wants to hire people to worsen their reputation and ruin them completely. I guess we got an answer for Lala from Miyako. They have no intention of hiring her either. Ruby is still plenty excited to visit one of the concerts that she was invited to by the agency. Miyako tries to change her mind with some last-minute motherly manipulation, but Ruby was not about to doubt herself at that point. She truly believes she has the potential to be a great idol like her mom, which dang, does she not see where it ended for her mother. With this much said, Miyako takes a look at Aqua's face as if she was waiting for his approval. She asks her to avoid joining that agency and invites her to Strawberry Productions. Wait, you can do that? Then why are you not doing that in the first place? Miyako and Strawberry have the intention to put together a new idol group, much like Bikamachi. She even makes her sign some paperwork to make her feel like this is all legit, and I'm getting a great feeling that this is all fake and they're just trying to stall her. As for Aqua, half of his life is spent at the director's place. Since he's still in middle school, he can't get on with an actual job, so he just helps the director with film production. Didn't I say that they were in high school at the end of the first episode? Man, I don't get the plot, bro. They seem plenty close in how he talks to them. The director likes to keep touch with the life choices that Aqua's making at all times. He also wonders why Aqua has lost interest in acting, despite showing so much promise and dedication in his early days. Well, that's actually much more common than you would think. He has never thought of acting as his passion. It was just a means for him to get closer to their real father and figure out the man behind her mother's death. Now that, I don't know, is that more common than we think? Is that why people become actors? The only thing the director can say is be careful. That's literally all he says. They try to twist his words for some literary value, but that's what he means. The siblings are already already passed their middle school and are applying for the same high school. There it is, but different departments. Aqua leaves a lasting impressions based on his grades in an interview and somehow comes across Arima Kana, the red-headed meanie from the last episode. Arima excited to see Aqua once again, and in the same high school nonetheless. She isn't happy they joined general education and threw away his acting career. The two siblings do not want to justify themselves on the decisions that they had to make. They even let her know quietly that they don't like her much. They simply ignore what they have to say, and Ruby even calls her Lolly Senpai, which is just frick, that's an insult. Arima continues to follow Aqua, asking him questions on how his life has been and who the director guy is. What does she expect for an answer? My mom died, but to be honest, I existed long before her, and now I'm playing detective? She continues to follow him, at least until he agrees to answer all of her questions. The mood is instantly put off when he tells her that he hasn't been acting for long now. Although the mood is set off, Arima is a bit direct with her approach this time. She asks him out to multiple different places, but he turns her down each and every time. It's hard for her to find a spot where they can hang out without both being bothered since she's still a celebrity. Is she though? They've been walking for a while now and I haven't seen a single person come up to her. Where's the paparazzi?
Where's your papa?
I don't know. He has pity on her and decides to take her to his place. The director instantly recognizes her and he isn't the person that she was expecting to see there, especially when he was the one who preferred Aqua's acting over hers. She looks through his stuff while he continues to go about with his work. The mom is very kind and welcoming to the new young lady and makes sure she eats a lavish dinner. She even calls out the director for living with his parents at his age. This comes from the fact that she, despite her age, is already living on her own. The director certainly has some footage of Aqua's acting and she wants to see it. He doesn't have a problem, but Aqua doesn't want her to see them because they aren't anything special. I mean, it was just a simple question. My boy didn't have to dive deep into how his acting isn't good enough for people to see. The only way she can see him act is if she convinces him to act again. She tries to entice him into a good lead role, starring herself as the female lead, which he turns down in a heartbeat. After hearing that the project she's talking about is the one called Sweet Today, Aqua shows some degree of interest. It gets even more alarming when he takes great interest in the name of the producer, Masaya Kaburagi. He remembers that Ai left behind 3 phones when she died. One of those phones is from before she got pregnant, the most recent one. He examined all 3 of those phones after her death and wasn't able to unlock the one that was the most important. He spent the next 4 years trying all possible combinations that he could and finally unlocked it. So when he searched through her emails on that phone, Kaburagi was one of the names he saw. Aqua goes into deep thought, realizing the magnitude of the opportunity that was right in front of him. So with that in mind, he agrees to do the role and specifically asks her to reach out to the producer. She thinks he's just jealous at the substitute guy that they've chosen, which is, man, I just feel bad for this girl. She calls the producer and sends him a picture of Aqua. He doesn't even think twice to cast him into the role because they weren't exactly trying hard to find a lead anyways. Ruby is more excited than Aqua about the fact that he's going to be in a TV drama. She's glad that he didn't forget about Ice's hopes to see Ruby become an idol and Aqua become an actor. Miko looks up the story that they're going to be covering and it's based on a manga. Aqua is set to play the role of a villain who shows up in the final episode. Wait, wasn't he supposed to play the lead or something like that? Parts of the series are already out and the 3 of them watch it together. They aren't impressed, to say the least. Not by her acting, not by the story either. Ruby even mentions how Arima is a lot better than this. She didn't expect her to give such a bland performance. Aqua takes his criticism to Arima, who isn't happy about it but doesn't really revolt against it either. He asks what the reason is and she talks about how acting ability is not their concern at all. They just want to make the show that sells to the female audience. In short, the whole show is about selling cute male models to the female frickers. So she basically has to match their energy and act like a complete amateur, making sure she doesn't outshine all the useless actors that the producer has hired. The best they can do is deliver a line that makes her cringe all the time. So not only does she have to make herself look bad for them to look good, but their being bad is also keeping her from looking good. Did that make any sense? I think it did. She even thought of dropping out, but the rest of the staff were determined to make a good show, quote unquote. She also talks about her character and how she's hard to work with. When you combine that with other actors who are better than her, she has to prove herself with what she's got. This is the second reason though. She's mostly proud of her long-standing relationship with Kaburagi. I forgot to notice how they were having this long and boring conversation inside of karaoke, which is, yeah, he really said yes to a date with her. She hands him his part of the story with the script and asks him to make a good show with her. She believes that they can ramp up the quality of his acting. She hasn't even seen how he acts now, but the trust is there. Her request touches him deeper than he thought it would. He continues to spend the rest of his time trying to understand the story well, finding ways to bring his best. The day of the shoot is finally here and the studio is rather damp thanks to the rain. She introduces him to the main lead, and the guy can't even bother to greet Aqua back. She finally presents him to the producer, who also has no interest in knowing who Aqua is or what his background is. Aqua looks at him with a dead expression, almost as if he would snap his neck right then and there. He explores all the possibilities here. He could be their biological father, or someone responsible for Ice's death. He also doesn't rule out collecting a sample for a DNA test. After that, he continues to shoot his part until they have to stop shooting due to a leak in the roof. Arima doesn't find his acting to be the same over-the-top performance he gave all those years ago, but it's still good enough to convince her that he's got potential. Aqua then overhears the producer talking about Arima, and he doesn't have the best opinion of her. Although he doesn't say anything ill, he also takes the chance to pick up a cigarette that he put out. And I don't know what that has to do with anything, but our story in the warehouse where Arima's drama is being shot. Aqua's doing his best to make it seem like he's there for the gig and not some shady reason. He's taking good notice of his surroundings, and the lights are going to work. He wants to make sure he gives the perfect shot in the next go. Kana Arima is also preparing for her shot, and she starts to give a flashback of her life instead. I mean, we didn't ask for it, but sure, we're here now. The flashback story starts with a bright tone as she starts to talk about how everyone admired her for being a child celebrity. Quickly takes a dark turn like all child celebrities' careers, and gets to the point where life starts to throw some curveballs that came with fame. Got worse for her very fast, but she hung on to this dream despite all the setbacks. This brings us to the current time where she knows that she's doing a crappy TV show, but it wouldn't be fair to herself if she didn't give that her best as well. She is desperately waiting for that part of the manga where the story takes a big turn and begins to soar. She wants to nail that part and reflect it as well as the artist did in the manga. It makes sense because she's a fan of the manga itself and has cried over this scene countless times. With all things said and done, her coworker is absolutely ruining his part. No matter how hard she tries, she can't make this guy look good at all. The scene is supposed to be tense and chilling, and this guy's just out here standing like he's reciting a speech about global warming. There was, of course, only one person who could save this scene from being absolute doo-doo butter, and that was going to be Aqua's character. They come walking in looking like a total stalker. They're not even trying to hide it with that costume. He gives the extra zing by stepping on a puddle, which some of them don't appreciate, but the main director thinks it's adding to the chilly vibe of the scene. As he delivers his line, all he can think about is how he is not as good of an actor as his mother/patient was. He intends to make use of the lights, camera, and angles to bring out the best in the scene. His improvisation is so good that the director decides to continue filming despite a very rash reaction from the main actor. He even puts up an extra camera just to record Aqua in his performance. His words fire up the trash dude and even begins to exert some form of emotion in his acting. Aqua continues to give a very convincing sadistic performance, and it's all up to Arima now. She has to land the final blow. The episode is finally up for release, and the reaction of the person who wrote the manga is expected to be pretty dull since she's watched the first 2 episodes and was not convincing at all. With this one, she sees that scene of Aqua being a villain and the overall dynamic between the three, and oh man, finally, she gets to the part of Arima's character shedding tears. She can't help but shed some tears of her own. It's not just her though. A huge part of the internet begins to buzz about the latest episode. It doesn't become as viral as you'd expect it to be because the damage had already been done, but amidst the hardcore manga fans, they were clearly satisfied with the quality of the final episode. Aqua and Arima got called up for a party for the show's ending. They see the real investors and some higher-ups gather there. The manga writer is there too, and Arima's a bit embarrassed to see her, mostly over how crap the overall show production was. The sensei does tell her that her performance is great, and Arima has nothing to be ashamed of. She even thanked her for it, which makes me wonder if the show must have really sucked for her to point out a person like that and thank that person for saving the show the way she did. But anyways, her gratitude brings Arima to tears, and she also directs her well wishes to Aqua. Kaburagi approaches Aqua and congratulates him for his performance. He instantly bends his words, making it look like he cares for the young talent, not like he just wanted a pretty boy to look good at first. Things heat up very quickly when he asks him if he is with Strawberry Productions. It gets even more suspicious when he mentions how his face is similar to that of Hoshino Ai. I'm surprised that this is the first person to notice that. Have no one noticed the fracking copy-pasted eyes? Or is that just an anime thing? He wants to know how the producer knows so much, to which he says he was up close and personal with Hoshino Ai. There it is, his cue for susness. He continues to ask about the kind of relationship he had with Ai, and somehow this producer thinks it's okay to answer it all to a random kid. He also reveals that she was in contact with the dude within the agency, and by contact, I think he meant that she was seeing this person. Only after a bunch of these questions does the producer find it strange that this kid is very interested in Ai. He asks if he was a fan, someone who was interested in her even after her death, and you can call him a creep. We all know that's the word you're looking for. He actually admits that he was one of those weird fans. The producer feels his dilemma and agrees to share more details, but he wants something in return. He notices how he has an eye as beautiful as I did, so he wants to cast him for a dating show. And he wanted to quit acting. You're never quitting. So the high school scene is after all this. I did think it was weird how they were going to their first day but never made it there. Arima is there, and of course she is much more comfortable this time. She also, for no reason, explains how the school is full of entertainers. Duh! That's probably the main reason why they joined. She takes the courtesy to give them a tour of the school. Ruby finally reaches her class 1F and opens the door with the most overly dramatic reaction. She reacts as if they're having an orgy inside the class. The whole class is different. The people there are much prettier and good looking than the average people she sees on the streets. That's a very offensive comparison, but it's technically her intrusive thoughts, so let's not dwell on it. She goes on to take the main character's seat and finds herself beside a girl with very attractive assets. This is Minami Kotobuki, a model and an entertainer similar to everyone else inside the class, except for her cup size. That's a lot bigger than theirs. Ruby searches her online and instantly makes a remark about her cups and how sexy they are. Did we change genres to ecchi? All of a sudden, what is happening? She introduces this new friend to Aqua, who ain't impressed. He's truly a man of focus. As for him, he has not made any progress in making friends, and he doesn't intend to make any either. That's not why he got into the school. Ruby also talks about the student who stood apart the most, Shiranui Frill. She's apparently a person above their pay grade and super popular even amongst the entertainers. He notices her walking by and goes on to ask her if she would be good friends with her sister. Frill apparently knows him as the guy from Sweet Today, someone who is turning into a popular celebrity. She even knows who Minami is. Ruby is the only person that she doesn't recognize. Turns out a lot of people were actually impressed with the final episode of the show. Aquamarine saved that scene so hard the credit flew to the entire cast, including Anima. She liked him, but now it's probably way more than just likes. We continue our story with Ruby, who's been keeping a close eye on Anima. She notices her features, which are mostly top tier from her face down to her personality. She thinks Anima fits the type where crazy hardcore otakus would be her fans. That's true for almost like every pop idol, though. Aqua thinks that Ruby is behind the fame that Anima would inevitably gain. He suggests that Ruby should go and try to make some conversation. She tells him that she doesn't exactly have the best relationship with Anima, so it's not that easy. He tries to be a good brother and volunteers to give Anima a call just for the sake of his sister. Meanwhile, Anima is busy reading threads about her performance in the drama. Comments related to her great delivery have etched a big smile on her face, as it would me. She also comes across comments related to Aqua. They call his delivery super creepy and convincing with conflicts to the female viewers since he's handsome too. Just as she's thinking about him, a text from Aqua is enough to lighten her mood. She makes her way, wondering what he could want from her. I want to know what she's thinking about what he wants. It's deep enough for her to stop by the restroom and start making her hair. She goes outside only to see that Ruby is there too. The mood is back to being sour again all of a sudden. She starts to bring up her usual self, acting as if she's the busiest person in the world, all because Aqua told her that Ruby has some business with her. Ruby doesn't appreciate this at all, but it's not like she has much of a choice here. She's the one that wants to achieve that idol status soon. She needs all the help that she can get. She musters enough courage to ask Anima if she wants to be an idol of hers. Wait, what? I thought she was trying to ask for some advice. This is a whole different proposal. She explains that Strawberry Productions are trying to put together an idol group. They haven't really found the members, and Anima happens to be a freelancer too. Anima doesn't give her an immediate answer, but seeing how serious Ruby is about this, she wants to take the time to think about it correctly. The taking time isn't exactly a lot though. It takes her 2 seconds to come up with a no for an answer. Thank you. She carefully thinks about how it would get into her schedule and possibly degrade her acting career as a whole. She can't just put half her effort into both worlds. She'd fail in both. She looks at Ruby and for some reason, I mean for obvious reasons, she feels the presence of the legendary idol Hoshino Ai. It reminds her of the one time she worked with Hoshino Ai when she was a kid. Even then, she could feel how great a personality she was and why she was such a big success. She still has her doubts though, as Strawberry Productions isn't really the best in the business, and she might also not have it in her to make it big as an idol. She prepares to reject Ruby, but Aqua gets on his knees and begs her to accept the offer, which is certainly unexpected. He even tells her that she's cute, more cute than your average idol, and definitely cute enough to cut it. He even makes a point that he'll be happy to leave his sister in her hands. She continues to say no, but he continues to insist, all until she signs an official contract. Miko's surprised by how Aqua was able to convince her to join. He says there was not much to it, he just read her like a book and came up with the perfect approach. Mind you that this perfect approach was to beg, but it got the job done at the end of the day. While she's there, Anima wants to know if Aqua is involved in his next big project. Ruby does show her in his next project, but her expressions don't speak big at all. The Fricker's in a dating show named My Love with a Star Begins Now, which is the most generic, boring title to ever exist, and I'm named Mr. Recap. Aqua's character is the complete opposite of what he looks like in real life. He plays an outgoing pretty boy. He compliments some girls inside the show, and the two ladies are already having a hard time watching it, keeping their composure. Miko has to remind them that he's just acting, which they know, but still, it isn't that simple. She wonders why he would even agree to be in a show like this. Who knows? Maybe the boy wants to make some money. That's mostly the reason, isn't it? Miko advises Anima to be more lenient and see acting as a business more than she does. Aqua isn't having the time of his life with the shooting either. He says his line, keeps his expression, but can't help but feel dumb all the time. Still, he thinks of the things that Kaburagi had promised her, including Ai's relationship with guys, so the price to pay is nothing in comparison to what he's getting back. He explains his workplace, and judging by the tone, I don't think he's impressed or excited about any of it. He does open up to a coworker who also happens to have landed the job due to connections with Kaburagi. He casually mentions how he was in love with someone older than her, and bends the narrative to make it sound like he's the protagonist of Domestic Girlfriend. Remember that show? Yeah, don't. He starts to get comfortable with him, and even mentions how she would be looking forward to doing a kiss scene with him. Okay, he's out here slaying now. He returns back after a long day of shooting to hear Ruby bicker about the things that he's doing in the show. She wants to decide the girl that he should be dating. It's a reality show, so there's some leniency to some extent. Her recommendation is Yuki-pan, the same woman who said she wouldn't mind doing a kissing scene with him. What a coincidence. Ruby is getting along with her new classmate Minami. They talk about how Frilly is absent a lot. Even Minami has a shoot to attend after school, which makes Ruby wonder if she's the only one not doing anything. There's nothing to do in the agency other than to look at Arima and ask why she has no work either. Arima's lying down with a guide in her hand and learning the process of being an idol, something Ruby has probably not even thought of. She wants to find some activity over being a nerd. She's also trying to come up with a name, and none of it's making any sense. I'm sure that B. Komachi didn't make a lot of sense the first time they thought about it either. And what the frick does a Lady Gaga even mean? At least Mr. Recap, you kind of get what I'm about. Miko brings up a camera and asks them to build a presence online as if they were a YouTuber. Arima's a bit pessimistic about this idea. She believes it'll barely be enough. And trust me, I can say that's probably true. Miyuki doesn't want to worry though. She already has an expert on hand to help them. A topless man in an emoji mask arrives, and Arima calls him a pervert. Ruby recognizes the dude as Payan, a famous fitness YouTuber who for some reason wears this stupid mask. He's there to give them a lesson on how to build a fan base online, starting with gaining subscribers on YouTube. He has a bunch of ideas, one of which is to have them wear a similar mask and do a dance with them. This is the weirdest thing I've seen all day. What the frick are they doing? The plain idea is to do a collaboration video with them and break out into the scene with the help of an expert. They do a whole dance sequence as talked, and after it ends, Payan asks what they'd like to be known as. Ruby doesn't give it much thought and tells him that he should put them up as B. Kamachi, which kind of makes sense, really. Does that mean I need to do a dance in an emoji mask?
Oh yes, please, do it. Just not in front of me.
I'm be real with y'all. Is anything gonna happen? Not much has happened since I died. I'm be real. That's been the only showstopper for a show that was supposed to be on top this season. It's just been acting drama, and I already get enough of that as is. So Arima has signed a contract with Strawberry Productions, and Ruby, she found a new motivation and an old name for their idol group. They're gonna be known as B. Komachi, if you're wondering what the name might be. Aqua's reality show is popping out episodes left and right like we do Mr. Recap episodes, with intense shooting and acting every single day.
Intense doesn't necessarily mean good.
Sumi Yuki is doing her part of a hurt high school girl dealing with dudes. Everyone is very much impressed by how genuine she sounds, and to be honest, it's not the hardest role to pull off, given they're watching a reality show, quote unquote, where nothing is actually real. Sumi and her feelings about quitting her passion touch the audience to their very core. I'm just kidding. They're in it for the spice. Her performance in that particular scene was so well done that they even wrote an article on it. Really? They asked her if she was serious about quitting love school, which she was not. She also mentions how she was not acting either, since she's not a professional. She was only reciting a dark time in her life on camera. Aqua's been carefully noticing all of his colleagues and made some judgments on their nature and the type of people that they are. They all gather after work for some barbecue, courtesy of Memcho, who is easy to persuade. Akane is very considerate of what Aqua is eating and if he's getting some grilled meat. He gets back home late to a jealous Ruby who calls him out for hanging out with cute girls who made his food taste better. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, maybe he wasn't eating food, but he was eating something else. You know what I mean?
I don't get it.
You'll understand when you're older, man.
What?
She's always interested to know the details of love school and if it's actually real. The whole idea of falling in love just seems so foreign to her. They all have differing opinions. Some of them take it seriously, to some extent, while others try to keep it professional. Aqua himself found this intriguing since he wasn't familiar with dating shows before. They're less fake than he had initially imagined. He still believes that lying is the best way to protect yourself in a scenario like this, though. Soon after Sumi went on to pair up with Nobu, leaving Kengo in the shadows, a love triangle angle was the spotlight. Sumi played her part of a seductress well, swinging back and forth between the two dudes has made the show even more popular among school kids. Memcho talks to Aqua about how he hasn't been very active with his involvement. She asks him if he's not interested in gaining popularity like Sumi and the rest are gaining. He asks the same question to her, and both of them are very vague with their answering. Meanwhile, Akane is the one who is hurting the most from the lack of screen time. Her manager tries to defend her for some reason, but this dude, whoever he is, doesn't want any of it. He wants her up front, with all the cameras pointed right at her. She's dealing with her own inability to leave a mark, and that's a big deal for her, leaving a mark in the show. Anima and Ruby, despite the boost of confidence from the last episode, are still not involved in any work. Instead, she sits there all day reviewing bad products from different companies. She explains the need for good marketing and have a positive impression, which is exactly the opposite contrast to Akane, who's barely getting anything. She tries her best to take Nobu away from Sumi, even when they're having a private convo. Fans of this heated ship do not appreciate her bugging in like this, and so tweets of disapproval begin to surface online. And that's the beginning of your cancellation. Some of the tweets even want her to leave the show and leave things be, opting for a new male character. She's doing all this because of some random dude's advice. Sumi notices this effort, and while she feels bad for her, she's not gonna let Akane take the spotlight. She wonders what makes her so different in comparison to herself, as she continues to think that she has to leave a mark somehow. She goes on to have some steam with Kengo, only for Sumi to take him away in an instant. Akane grows anxious over how her career is literally running away with those two, and so she stops Sumi, which does not bode well. She ends up wounding her. She begins to freak out over what she had just done, but Sumi is nice enough to embrace her. I find it incredibly surprising that no one here is toxic. There is no way everyone is so supportive of each other all the time in show business. Anyways, she tells her that she isn't hurt and it's okay. The girls make up so well that you have to pause there and wonder what a lesbian angle would be like.
Huh? The lesbian isn't a mathematical term. What angles are we? What?
Her coworkers were lenient enough to let it slide and see it as an accident, but the internet needed more excuses to thrash on her. Twitter threads begin to explode with comments of disapproval, demanding that the showrunners drop Akane, and they're convinced that she's not qualified enough to be on TV. Oh, come on. If the Kardashians are qualified enough, I'm sure anyone is. It's especially bad since it happened at the end of the show when everyone was hoping for that big twist, and what they saw was a side character suddenly bursting into the main scene. She tries to apologize to the audience through her Twitter, and the replies are mostly death threats and hateful. At least they know how to portray the internet well. She tries her best to ignore all of it, but the more she tries, the worse it gets. Welcome to 4chan. All she can think of is the hate that she's getting online. All she can think about is the hate that she's getting online. Her school starts to catch on to the rumors and allegations too. She can already hear some of her mates talking behind her back. It's so bad that the poor girl throws up. They're really assuming literally everything about a person based on a single activity. Very realistic. Her mother is already catching on to her daughter's mood, which hasn't exactly been giddy. She can't talk about it to her mother either, since her mother is getting her share of hate comments too, and she doesn't even know it yet. The next episode was something she was certainly not ready for. She feared that it would only bring her more criticism. Surprisingly, the episode is targeted at Akane, and they carefully try to clear her name and paint her clean. Some folks on the internet are convinced that Akane is a hard worker who's trying to set things right, but the majority of the audience is still convinced that she's just using all this as a selling point. To some, the image of Akane is dirtier than ever. What was supposed to fix or at least somewhat save her image online ended up making it worse. People were now calling her straight up ugly and suggesting that she should just commit die. Her friends are now trying to reach out through text, but none of them actually made the time to go out and meet her. Of course, the episode had already been hinting at one possibility. A hungry and tired Akane walks through the rainy streets and finds herself standing on the edge of a bridge. It doesn't take long for her to let herself go, but Aqua manages to pull her back in time. She goes hysteric and tries to force out his grip, but he manages to calm her down with his voice. All because of some frackin' selfish fricks online, bro. The story continues with Akane struggling to get away before she realizes that Aqua is the one who pulled her back. He tells her that Mem had been looking for her, and she was concerned enough for him to trace her route and get there in time. The news of her little stunt is already up on the internet, and she's getting roasted for that as well. Even Anima has a very skeptical opinion over what she had just done. They discuss what it's like to be in a reality show, and Anima makes a point that you risk a lot more than what you do when you're playing a certain character. Ruby then remembers how Aqua told her that lying is the best way to get around such situations, and I couldn't agree more. They then get a call from the police station where Aqua's being held for some questions. Akane's mother is there with her, and the news of how things have been for her daughter is new to her. She was told by Akane to avoid watching her shows, but she didn't imagine that things were this bad. Miyako makes her way to the station and reunites with Aqua, who's alone by that point. As soon as Akane exits the interrogation room, somehow by some divine magical teleportation scheme, Yuki and the rest of the cast is there too. The first thing Yuki does is slap Akane across the face face as if the girl isn't already having a bad enough day, Aqua presents the idea that she should drop out of the show. She's still under contract, but having a minor in the show threatening to kill herself could put the director on the spot. The choice is still hers in the end, and she can choose to stay regardless of what he just said. Despite being defeated by the internet and scared to death, she wants to continue with her role. She doesn't want to be a quitter. For some weird reason, Aqua decides to capitalize on rumors circulating Akane's stunt. He sees this as a publicity opportunity, a way to enhance the flame. He wants to make sure he makes the headline out of this, so when Akane comes back from all the criticism, she will be immune to everything. He also asks Mem for pictures and videos of the group with the plan to create some content of his own. Mem has a very innocent perspective on this. In simple words, she doesn't see the bigger picture and assumes he's just looking for some harmless content. Kingo agrees to record some music for him since that's literally his entire identity, the guitar guy. He then talks to the director, or maybe the assistant, I don't know, whoever this guy is. He talks to him about releasing new footage, but something like that is prohibited. He refuses to give him permission at first, but Aqua begins to play his manipulation game. He talks about this raging hate towards the idea of a reality show star trying to take her life could be directed to the showmaker rather than the actor. If they decide to do nothing, then soon the public will paint Akane as the victim and start bashing the studio. All this logical talk, but the only thing that makes the director fret is his sense of responsibility towards Akane as an adult. He then begins to put up some content using the director's permission and Mem's data. I see that my man is really aiming for something harmless. After countless hours of all-nighters and struggle, he manages to get the work done. Everyone is excited to see what the final product came out to be. Aqua is so tired that he can barely get his hands on the mouse, man. Mem believes if they can get about 100 retweets in less than a minute, then they are set for a viral start. They then post the video on Twitter first and eagerly wait for their first retweet. It goes from 0 to 92 in less than 10 seconds, and Mem is assured that they're going to make it big. We also get to see that the video is mostly a mixture of behind-the-scenes content and actual footage from the show itself, which is pretty cool. Aqua basically created this to show what it's like to work in a reality show and what things are like behind the camera. This was mostly an attempt to resurrect Akane's reputation, which is basically dead at this point. She was the first victim of her poor performance and then roasted for trying to end her own life. It does not get harder than that. Akane herself is watching this video from her room, and she's shocked to see it just as much as anyone else. The video ended up getting 74,000 retweets in less than 24 hours, which is some milestone, alright. The comments on Akane's reputation on the internet began to change. It is now restored, along with the image of Love Now, which was starting to pick up some heat. It works enough for Akane to show herself at the studio ready to work. Everyone else is super considerate of her this time, Yuki more specifically, and this time Aqua advises her that even in a reality show, she should try and play a character rather than showing her true self. He wants her to avoid being herself, which will only hurt her if she gets negative comments. As for her new role, they don't really know what to do with her, or who to pair her with. Yuki and Mem suggest that Aqua should be the one to volunteer, plus they don't really know what his type is yet. When they ask her what his ideal girl is, he remembers Ai and begins to describe each and every trait of hers, which is kinda weird considering that she became his mother. He's clear enough for Mem to guess that he's talking about someone like Ai from Bikamachi. Akane takes notes and says that she will try to be the kind of girl that Aqua likes. I mean, nothing was stopping you from doing that from the very start! Aqua, on the other hand, does not appreciate this. No one can just start to be like Ai. You have to be born with a talent like hers. With this, Akane begins to investigate Ai, trying to understand the type of person she was and the type of career she followed. She does some pretty in-depth research, including her close ones and if she had a family or not. Arima expresses her concern about Akane's recovery since they're on the same field and she technically is her new rival. Well, her rival, basically. As for Akane, she shows up for her first shooting after a long time and is wholeheartedly welcomed by the entire crew. Aqua welcomes her and he can visibly notice that she was more than serious about adopting the style of Hoshino Ai. So what are you telling me? That she's able to somehow attain the same eyes that I had? What is it, like a starting gun implant, or were those eye designs fake? I'm sure Ai's eyes were natural like that since Aqua and Ruby were born with the same pattern, right? In any case, Akane is somewhat impressed, or at least shocked Aqua with how she's adapted the persona of Ai. He's not a big fan of this idea to begin with, but then her initial impersonation is so good that he even has to take notice of it. We continue the story with a small background story about Akane. Out of the entire case of the dating reality show, she's the only one skilled enough to be called a pure actor since she has theater experience. The La 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 Theater is a place for actors of the finest quality, and Akane is their star performer, at least among the younger groups. That probably explains why she was able to impersonate Ai as well as she did. Everyone starts to take notice of her new personality. They can already tell that this is not the same flimsy Akane. She's much more confident, at least in her acting anyway. It's not just them though, the entire crew, the whole production team is attracted to this newfound charm. Even Aqua admits that she's very close to what I represented. Now that she has pulled off what Aqua thought was impossible, he has developed a particular affinity for her. Even when they tease her, he has a very serious reaction to it. I don't know though, all I see is a man who's sweating because of cringe. The girls ask her if she feels the same, and the answer is positive, so we now have a new romance on its way. I hope this doesn't turn into another circus show where someone starts feeling too alive again. Anima is already starting to hear rumors about Aqua and Akane. They really started watching the show with greater interest after Akane's incident. She feels jealous, obviously, but then Aqua himself asks her out on a date. She suggests a bunch of places they could go and hang out, like Tokyo Tower, and I forgot the next one, but it doesn't matter, and he takes her to a baseball field. They seriously aren't gonna play catch? What is this guy thinking? Well, I guess it works. He knows she'll be satisfied as long as she's with him, so they were right to call him Aqua Yagami. She takes this chance to ask him about love now, and he makes it clear that it's just a job. He doesn't take anything seriously. It puts her mind at ease, but little does she know, he doesn't take her seriously either. She asks some really weird questions though, like why would he be interested in younger girls? He's just 17. He does tell her that he's interested in an older woman though. Let's not forget that he's a first year and Arima's a senior. This also relates to Akane since she's a second year too, so the field is very still neutral. Looking at her throwing a ball with such passion as if she wasn't frowning about playing catch a while ago. After a bit of thinking and spending some time with Arima, our boy comes to a conclusion. Akane is not Ai. She is an imposter. What he sees is a ghost of Ai Hoshino, not the real deal. This is what he thinks, but it's not what he says. He tells Akane that when she got into character, he genuinely believed he was looking at the real thing. He asks her how she was able to do it so well. It's nothing impressive. She just read books and took notes, and boom, just like that, we have another Ai Hoshino on our hands. As she's talking about things that she found about Ai, she nonchalantly tells him that Ai actually had a child in secret. This completely changes the color on Aqua's face, who probably would not have been able to figure out that much information if she was in her place. He asks her more about the things that she found out about Ai. Akane's pretty much figured out everything, from the kind of life she lived to the dude she dated. That's something even he'd had no idea about. I wonder if Akane's being serious about it. It's safe for him to say that Akane, who's a complete stranger to Aqua and Ai, has somehow figured out so much more about his mother than he has. She doesn't even know the more darker secrets of her life, yet she somehow knows more than her son does. So of course, if their relationship is completely professional, he has to push it to some personal boundaries. Technically, he would stop seeing Akane after the show ends, and he can't afford to do that since she knows so much. Aqua acts upon this thought and kisses her on camera, although he makes it seem like he really meant that kiss. I guess that sealed the deal. The entire crew gathers up for the after party, celebrating the end of the show, and who knew that Akane would be the center of the stage, the big female lead towards the end. I like how they exchange 2 words about the show and the ratings before going straight to the main scoop. Everyone wants to talk about the kiss at the end, and they want to know if the 2 of them are actually going to be dating for real. Akane's not sure about it, which means she's not completely opposed to the idea. She still thinks that they did what they did on professional terms, but the rest of the crew tells her that it's fine to take it personally, is it? Akane is nervous about it because she's only thought about her work life up until now. She hasn't had a boyfriend. They're not even talking about Aqua at this point. They want her to ride the heat of the popularity and get herself a good partner. Doesn't have to be the same person from the show. The director is quite specific about the kind of guy she should date because the industry is home to countless jerks. The man of the hour isn't there. Aqua's outside the bar meeting up with a producer. Oh, I forgot they had a deal. He does try to put him on the spot by talking about some things that Aqua did, like leaking raw footage of the cast, but it doesn't work. Nonetheless, the producer is impressed over how much he was able to deliver for the show and its overall production. He promises to meet up with him sometime soon and give him some internal details about Ai. The rest of the cast arrives and takes him back to the bar. They leave him be with Akane, who asks him what they should do from that point. How about breaking up and going on with your lives? Akane is direct in her approach. She wants to know if they're a work thing or the real thing. I was honestly ready for him to say how much he wants her, but he ends up saying he doesn't even see her as a woman. Oh, man! What a waste. That being said, he's still interested in her as an actress. I don't know if she should be happy about that since the guy blatantly rejected you a couple of seconds ago, but nah. Everyone goes back home after what was fairly a good night. Mem and Aqua have to catch the same station, I suppose, as they're walking together now. A sentimental Mem then talks about how she always wanted to be an idol but just never got the chance. Aqua preys on this opportunity and asks her to join B Kamachi as a new member since they're currently recruiting. Anyways, we continue our story in regular Oshinoko fashion where they're already moving on to the next big thing, yet it feels like the story is not progressed at all. Mem had agreed to join B Kamachi and she is now in the Strawberry production office for her big interview. Miyako's not particularly impressed with this new recruit that Aqua has brought. She does see that her internet presence is good enough to match that of an idol with 370,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is more than us. Ayo, subscribe, by the way. Why is she even there with an online presence like that? I suppose the content doesn't exactly garner a ton of views. Miko can't help but notice that Mem is a bit nervous and asks her if there's something that she wants to get off her chest. She tells her to calm down, that it's natural for young people to look for a career like this. She then loosens up and reveals her age to Miko, whose reaction tells me a lot of lies have been told. Mem may claim that she's 18, but her actual age is 24. They're a bit over the top to hear this, but Mem explains how she always wanted to be an idol and how important this is for her. Most of her teenage years were tough as she had to support her family through some tough financial ordeals. Brother, I feel that. By the time she was able to help her younger brother with their high school and all, she had turned 23. It was too late for her to realize her dream by the time she found her freedom. Still, she wanted to make it work somehow. The agencies would not take anyone above 20 though, or at least they'd be hesitant about it. So she had to change the way she looked and lied about her age. Arima and Ruby have been listening to her story from the background and they fully are supportive of her. In fact, Arima, who doesn't completely approve anyway, can't help but sympathize with such a tragic story. Both of them are ready to form Bikamachi with her, so this is the new Bikamachi. They really had to add Akane to this, huh? They just had to. It's gonna bring wonders, trust me. Ruby and her classmates are a bit down over the fact that Love Now is over. Wow, it really got popular in its later stages. Minami wishes to see the oh-so-famous Akane at least once before the show's buzz ends. Nobody had asked for Frill's opinion, but she goes on to talk about how Akane got better because of her eye makeup, if that's even a thing. She personally enjoyed Mem's performance. Did she have any screen time, though? She literally did nothing in the show. As for Bikamachi, they're using Mem's platform to gain some views and popularity, letting some part of the internet know that the famous idol band is back in business, even if they're a ripoff. Mem suggested they should be uploading content sometime soon, something like a music video or a musical front. Arima thinks that they should take it easy, since the music needs to be produced and refined before they can perform on it. Mem proposes an idea. Since they are Bikamachi, they can use the old songs that the previous Bikamachi had performed. The three then pull out some albums and begin to practice their dance. Arima's already discouraged since there are 30 songs to choreograph and memorize. Aqua sees her in this down mood and gives her some aqua. She tries to take it, but then remembers the kiss with Akane and pushes it away. He wonders why she's been acting so cold towards him and leaves without saying much. Arima tries to call out, but he's already gone. He's finally found time with a producer who is still confused about why he's so obsessed with Ai. He calls himself a desperate fan, and it does sound like reason enough for the producer. He starts with how close he was to Ai, and that he used to send her tons of job proposals. Ai was a total countrywoman when she first started, and was very unprofessional in her field. He took pity on her and enrolled her in a workshop at the La La Lai Theater, the same place from where Akane came from. He suspects that the theater was the place where Ai found love. The producer tells Aqua that he can get him into touch with the theater authorities if he wants to go that far. He doesn't understand why he would go that far for a failed actor, but the producer knows that there is potential inside of him. Trust me, he knows nothing. He doesn't only want to focus on Aqua though. He sees a lot of potential and market value in the current Strawberry production roster and wants to make a smart investment in them. As such, the producer asks Mem if Bikamachi wants to perform in the Japan Idol Festival. The festival is slated for the next month, and Arima, who has been rather unenthusiastic lately, doesn't feel like they are going to be prepared enough for that. Of course, Ruby is super excited about the idea of performing at the JI Festival. She thinks that this is the perfect chance to announce the revival of Bikamachi. A bit of convincing is all it takes for Arima to agree, and the three girls have their eyes set on the festival. Now that they're up for a performance, Mem wants to know who is going to take on the center role of Bikamachi. Arima doesn't feel that it's important, but the other two insist that it is mandatory to have a center. They know that someone has to be the center, and both of them make a case over why they should be the one to do it. Just have a cat fight over it and see. Just pick a winner based off that. At least it's entertaining. The center also needs a good vocal range. As such, they want to decide the winner based on how high they score in karaoke. And I never thought that they would take this all seriously. Arima is dead set on passing on this opportunity. She doesn't feel qualified enough to be the center, so the contenders are just Ruby and Mem. The karaoke is pretty fierce between the two of them, so where's the winner? Wait, why didn't they show the highest score? They decided to try on new songs and found the one from Arima herself. Oh, they're about to have their mind blown over how good this is gonna be. So they decided to make Arima the center. I suppose the song changed everyone's mind. Karaoke served its purpose, but in a different manner. They're filming her entire introduction with a camera, and Ruby asks her what it feels like to be the center of Bikamachi for the tip. Well, we can see her face, and she sure doesn't like it a lot by the appearance of it, and the fact that they're filming her over this. She still doesn't want to be the center of anything. Mem tries to explain that they came to a realization in the karaoke sesh. Neither of them is suited to be the center. They tell her about her songs and how she approved with each one, which is something they couldn't do. They realized how hard she'd worked over the course of her 3 songs to get as good as she is now. Ruby feels that someone with a strong sense of improvement and responsibility such as herself should be the one to take center stage. Anima doesn't like the way she talks about her. She snaps and tells him that she will not be the center no matter what. Despite that, they still rehearse a song with her as the center and it works perfectly. Anima is tired of things going so smoothly with her as the center. Maybe you should stop trying. Miyako alerts the girls about the deadline and she wants them to hurry up and push the final line. She's even brought in some help in the form of Peon. This guy looks so frackin' weird. Straight out of a serial killer documentary.
Look who's talking.
No, familiar. You can't. Mem is a fan of his since he's so well established in the YouTube scene. Their training will now include building stamina and he has them running up a hill early in the morning. I must say this Peon character feels super unnecessary every time he shows up.
Oh, I know you're not looking at me.
Ruby and Mem are having the time of their life planning and preparing for the festival. Arima doesn't look as enthusiastic as they do, and Peon picks up on it. He asks her if she regrets the decision to become an idol, which is quite the heavy question to ask someone who didn't actually have a lot of time to think about this change in career. She doesn't regret it per se, but she feels as if she's not made for it. It gets to her even more when the 2 girls insist that someone like her should be the center when she's having a hard time knowing if she's even up for a regular job. He praises her and tells her that someone as amazing as her should definitely see herself as the center. Anima is offended by this remark and she asks him if he knows a thing about her. And I don't think you're ready for that answer. Turns out Paya knows a lot. Although it's just the feel-good normal stuff people would tell someone when they're feeling sad. Still, she's impressed by how much he knows, which puts her in a good mood, knowing that she has a fan. Hold on, wait a second. What did she just say? She could fall for this guy over Aqua just because he makes over 100 million yen a month? Why do I agree with you?
Because you're a bad person.
She does say that, but whenever Mem asks her about Aqua, she goes on a full-on rant about how much he hates him, yet she knows every little detail about his behavior. So Payan is not actually Payan. He's out on vacation, and he has hired someone to impersonate himself. And I suppose it's Aqua. I guess that explains why Anima felt like she could fall for this guy. The girls are super excited about their debut as it gets closer and closer, and Ruby can barely sleep. She's been the most excited member out of all of them. I suppose she can finally start walking in her mother's footsteps. Anima is not very sure about this idea since she knows the possibility of what could happen. For a new group like themselves, the big shoes to fill, the audience could easily turn on them and start booing. She asks Ruby about how she can be so calm and excited about all this, and there's only one answer. She's longed for this, and it's finally here. This has a lot to do with her previous life, where she was set to die young. She would have never imagined that a life like this could be hers, where she could fulfill her dream and be the person she always wanted to be. In her previous life, she was a fan, but had given up on the idea of becoming an idol. But she met someone, her first love, who told her that he would be her first fan too. Anima listens to all this as Ruby falls asleep, and she's happy for her, since she has someone who's going to support her, which is just not the case for her. The day of the festival is finally here, and as expected, only 2 of them are actually looking forward to it. Kamachi is not going to be on the main stage. They're set for the star stage, which is not the main center of attraction, but it's something, I guess. Mem and Ruby have gotten enough sleep and they're ready to put on a show, while Arima, who is worried about the 2 of them not sleeping, ends up not getting any of it. Miyako takes the girls to the dressing room, which feels more like a public swimming pool during summer. They're supposed to change and basically do everything they're supposed to among this sea of other performers. Arima has a lot of responsibility on her shoulders. She's much more experienced than the rest of them, and even Miyako believes that she should be taking charge here. The other 2 can afford to make mistakes since they're relatively new, but Arima can't afford to fail. Her failure means failure for all of them. At least that's how they're painting the picture, but it's collective participation, so any mistake from any of the other 2 could also be a serious problem. She starts to remember her time as a struggling actor who would rarely impress her audience. This time she can't give in to that negativity. Even so, all these doubts make her unsure of her role as the center, the person leading B. Kamachi, but she has to do it to guide the other 2. Ruby comes to talk with Arima, and she's finally starting to feel nervous. She wants to know how Arima is keeping herself calm, and that's just the gist of it. She's not calm. She's anything but calm. She grabs hold of Arima's hands and notices how cold they are. She's just as nervous as they are. She finally snaps and tells her that she's feeling as nervous as she is because of them. It's okay for her to fail since she has had experience with it, but those 2 can't afford to do so, and on their big debut, Ruby doesn't see it this way. She looks at Arima and all she sees is a young girl who is just as scared as they are. She's ready to accept failure should they fail, but all she wants now is for them to go and have fun. Ladies and gentlemen, we're finally here. The end of Oshinoko! Finally! I mean, aww. So here we are at the festival, and the mood around here is pretty lively. Some girls and bands have already had their performances and are returning to the dressing room. Why are these 2 talking as if B. Kamachi's performance is already over? Are they really not going to show it to us? This old man even remembers where they took the name B. Kamachi from. He was a fan of the original group. More specifically, he was a fan of I. Whenever someone talks about I and says they were present to see her, it almost feels like that they've lived for like 100 years or so. It's such a weird feeling. Oh, the performance isn't done yet. They're just getting ready. I'm not sure they look quite convincing with those expressions, though. Despite being in the latter part of the show, the audience is still quite energetic for these lot. They start with a song called Star Rain, and I have to say the dance and the singing are actually quite good. The audience is feeling it. I'm getting pumped up. The old dude from before isn't convinced, as he still doesn't see someone who can take Ai's place. That is, until he takes a closer look at all three of them. By the end of the performance, everyone has their hands up in the air, cheering for the new B Komachi, including the old man. The first thing Arima does is to see Ruby's reaction and how passionate she is about all the praise that they're getting. This sense of admiration quickly turns into jealousy as she feels that if everyone is looking at those two and no one's looking at her. All right, calm down. It isn't that serious, so you have to think about how your mother left you. Dang. That was so savage for no reason. She starts to have a whole episode of how she always felt unwanted no matter what. And it quickly ends when Aqua runs to the very first row and starts to dance with glowing sticks the same way he did when he was a baby. He also accompanies them on their ride back home. Arima can't help but glide her eyes towards him since what he did was pretty rad. She decides to break the silence and asks him how he felt about their performance. He's very constructive about what he has to say. There are compliments, sure, but he still makes a point that they can do better. He tells her that they'll have to give more performances and concerts in the future to receive the praise that they're expecting from him. Miyako sees these two getting back on track again, and she decides to give it a little boost. She asks Aqua if he's been seeing Akane again, to which he says that he very much is not. He only calls it a working relationship, and Arima can't help but blush when he hears this. She decides to get a little arrogant now that she knows that he doesn't have any feelings for her, which, why do you want to get cocky so fast? Even someone as dumb as Mem can now see that Arima has feelings for him. Now she's confused over who she wants to support because she knows Akane likes Aqua too. Meanwhile, Akane's agent brings her the details of her next job. She's excited to see that she'll be working with Aqua once again. As for Arima, she now feels comfortable asking him why he was posing as peon and having a conversation with her. I kinda expected him to dodge that question or steer it the other way, but he's actually upfront and honest here. He tells her that he pulled that act all because she was not willing to talk with his normal self. She appreciates it. Yeah, you can see it. It's written all over her face, but of course she chooses not to thank him. It's her chance to rub it all in his face, calling him out to be a master of intimidation. Aqua's a bit tricked by her remarks and tells her that he did it only because he was concerned about Ruby's debut performance. She doesn't buy it though. She's not buying any of it. She continues to annoy him over this matter to the point where Aqua, a person who would normally avoid these types of conversations, decides to sit with her and sort it out like an actual person. Ruby's watching them from outside and she's glad to see that the two of them have made up. The producer is having a conversation with this weird guy about their next big project. They're all set with the production and stuff, but only need to think about the casting. This dude wants to cast Akane, of course he does, as the female lead. But they'll need someone who can match her vibe, which is where the producer's opinion matters. Akane and Aqua are still meeting outside of their work to maintain their relationship, which is of course work-related. They continue to give the impression to the fans that they're a great couple though. She then asks her about Tokyo Blade and if he's already been contacted. She tells him that she's close to considering it since they have come to her with a proposal too. He notices that she mentions the involvement of La 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 Theater. This is too good of a chance for him to let go, and so he tells her that he'll be taking part in it. She has got the part of Princess Saya, and he's been offered the role of Toki. These two characters are lovers, which is almost too convenient for Akane. There's one more role to consider though, a second love interest for Toki named Tsurugi, and that person is yet to be cast. The emphasis they put on this makes me wonder if it's gonna be Arima. I guess I have a sixth sense for these things because Arima spawns out of thin air to let them know that she got the role. She starts to lecture them about the photo that Akane just posted, talking about how a fan could find their location and attack them. Aqua can already feel the sense of animosity between the two girls. The passive-aggressive exchange is too obvious to not notice. And I'm a master at passive-aggressiveness. She leaves without saying much, and Aqua comes to know that they've known each other for a long time, and they do not like each other. And I guess that's it. That was Oshi no Ko. If y'all enjoyed this recap and want us to see more, wait a minute, that's not how I'm supposed to say it. And you want to see more recaps with the new season of anime that's coming up, or old ones, or whatever the frick you want to see, let us know in the comment section below. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We're so close to 100K, man. And I love y'all so much. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.